Hey guys, I'm Chris.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert.
And we're shooting the flames again.
That's right. The top of the month, and we have our chat show where Chris and I sit down and talk about horror movie news, some new trailers, and comments, questions, and reviews from you, our listeners.
That's right. And we're kicking off Pride Month with a lot of content.
That's right. We do have a very jam-packed episode for you in June. But before we get into that, can we talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
God damn it.
I know. Actually, you know what? I kind of don't want to talk about her, but she's omnipresent in the news, like every time I listen to it. So this may be the last time I ever mention this woman's name, just in general, because we got to stop talking about her, actually.
Well, there's one thing I really do love about her, and that's that she has 3 names, because it's very friendly for cursing, right? Like, you know, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Well, I mean, every serial killer has 3 names, right? So like John Wayne Gacy and shit like that. So I mean, I think we should go ahead and like lump her into the serial killer category.
Sigourney fucking Weaver.
Sigourney fucking Weaver.
Bob Christina Saget.
But yeah, I just kept hearing this week about how she compared wearing a mask to the Holocaust, right? Like how all these mask laws are, you know, so encroaching on, you know, political freedoms. And she said that having to wear a mask was similar to Jewish people, you know, in Germany having to wear the Star of David.
The political cartoons on that are hilarious, or actually sobering, actually, because I saw it was like someone was cleaning up after Kristallnacht, right? Where all the Jewish shops were kind of broken into, all their, you know, set on fire and everything was kind of destroyed. And someone was like sweeping up after that. And Marjorie Taylor Greene's like sitting there like, I know exactly how you feel. I had to wear a mask going into Walmart once.
Jesus. Oh my God, she's so incredibly insane. I don't understand how this woman is holding office, you know? And then just like a couple of weeks before she was making those Holocaust comments, she was literally chasing AOC through like the halls of the Capitol building, challenging her to debates and things like that.
And then there was another thing where she actually put up a sign like there's only 2 sexes, male and female or whatever, out of someone else's office because their daughter was trans or their son is trans. I've forgotten what. And I feel like this might not be true. Maybe I should do my homework before saying something like this. But I feel like she was the one that was like live texting where people were in the building during the insurrection.
I'm sure she was probably one of them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, she's like,
hence why like all Republicandom basically just shut down the independent commission on finding out, like getting to the root of what plans there were or what communication there was and what conspiracies there might have been. Right. And of course, they all shut that down because they hate democracy and only want, you know, their Lord Trump in office again, I guess. It's just insane to me.
Yeah,
I feel
it
like
really is.
Well, we don't even need that commission anymore. Just everyone that voted against it, literally every single one of them are seditionists to me.
Yeah.
Like, we have that list now. Thank you.
Well, and they all they are trying to do is like take back the Senate, and they know that if they had some sort of commission like this, that it would ruin chances for Republicans to be, you know, Congress people again, or to win whatever, you know, elections are coming up. And ruined completely. But yeah, and they know that people were involved. It's just ridiculous to me. And if I hear one more person say that there was no collusion or that, you know, there was no intention of storming the Capitol, it just happened organically, right? People made fucking t-shirts and
overwhelming fucking evidence. Oh my God.
I was like, we don't need a commission. We already know. The thing is, I think that other government agencies are already looking into it.
And actually, that's a good point, because there are some Republicans out there, I've seen their comments where they're just like, we already know everything there is to know. This is beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
You're trying to lengthen the political power that you have over Republicans from this mistake, right? And so they view it as like water under the bridge, right? But no, there's some insidious crap going on, and there's a sickness and toxicity in the Republican Party that is just disgusting. And I can't imagine anyone actually being a Republican at this day and age. You know, maybe 10 years ago, you know, maybe in the future again, right? But right now, this current point in history, I can't imagine anyone with any kind of fucking common sense or a level of humanity calling themselves a Republican and being proud of it.
Or at least standing behind some of the people that are in the Republican Party. I mean, if you're looking at a party that sort of like censors a person and takes away some of their like committee postings because they said something about Donald Trump, and doing nothing about someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is actively crazy, you know, I just don't understand where that party's at. And it just really bothered me. And I wanted to just point it out for the last time that I ever say that woman's 3 names. Fuck her.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Mary Louise Parker.
All right. Well, we got 2 reviews in May that we're going to be reading here on our Shooting the Flames episode for June. Chris, why don't you take the first one?
So ATX Horror said, make it a part of your regular rotation. I've been subscribed for a while, and both of their discussions of individual movies, as well as them shooting the flames, to keep me up to date and what's new and what they've been watching. Highly recommended for fans of horror and fans of movies in general.
We got another review from Friday the 13th, 12463578.
Wow.
I think that's his ranking of those movies. He said, I revived my iTunes for this review. The Foam Flamers is a wonderful podcast for fans of the horror genre. Chris and Robert offer entertaining and often humorous reviews, commentary, analysis, and trivia. The tone is light, but never dull. If you like the horror genre, you must subscribe to the Foam Flamers.
Both of those reviews are amazing. That last one, though, I really dig that.
Yeah, I do too. It's nice. I like it.
Yeah, and this is a person that we actually have a lot of commenting from this month, because they originally emailed, and I think were asking us about some other things that are coming up in this episode.
That's right.
And that's kind of how it got to a review on their part. But we're very, very thankful for, of course, ATX Horror. Thank you very much for that review. Love it. We want to be a part of everyone's regular rotation.
Yes, please.
Just like our private lives. And thanks, Alvin.
We love getting reviews, guys. It really helps us on iTunes. So head over to Apple Podcasts. If you have that, leave us a 5-star review. And while you like us, we're going to read those reviews on the next Shooting the Flames episode. We also got a lot of comments this month on both new episodes and old. And the first ones are going to come from our Shooting the Flames episode last month, which was May.
That's right. And the first one comes from Brandon from Facebook. I, too, am excited for the second season of Love, Death, and Robots. I loved the first season, some episodes more than others, and I'm glad that Netflix is giving it a second season.
And third, I think, it's been announced.
Yeah, they greenlit the third one, and we actually just got done watching the second season, which to me felt a lot shorter.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as good to me. The animation was, if anything, better, just as good or better. And there's some that were still very, very good. I loved the Christmas one.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was my favorite.
With the Monster Santa, fucking loved it. And there's just some gems in there, but to me, it was kind of an echo of the first one, almost like an appendage.
I kind of like the second season better than the first one.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know why, but I think a lot of the episodes on this one sort of held my attention more than the other ones.
They were shorter.
Yeah, and that may be the reason. And it just seemed like it was just really enjoyable. Like there wasn't a down moment in any of those episodes. I really thought that it was well done.
It's definitely better for goldfish brains.
Well,
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
On that note, we also got a comment from Joseph on Facebook who said, I want to call shenanigans on Emilio Estevez calling...
Estevez? What was Estevez?
Estevez? Estevez?
He said Estevez.
Emilio Estevez? I can't even say it right. Joseph on Facebook says, I want to call shenanigans on Emilio Estevez. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, I can't think what MO stands for. Maximum Overdrive. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. I want to call shenanigans on Emilio Estevez calling...
So overdrive.
I want to call shenanigans on Emilio Estevez calling Maximum Overdrive regrettable. I guess he forgot Nightmares from 1983, which flopped harder than a fish on a pier. He wasn't going to win the Oscars for that one either. Yeah, Nightmares was a bad movie. I haven't seen or thought about that movie in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this at length during the last Shooting the Flames, right? Or
yeah, it was part of our news segment.
Yeah, because Emilio, we were talking a little bit about like the behind the scenes, because we also know that he was like completely coked out the entire time. Not Emilio, but Stephen King while he was directing. Yeah, so obviously that could be a hard time, but we don't really know. Obviously, Emilio doesn't have quite the catalog to complain about that, but there could be context. So it's
But I had both forgotten about the movie Nightmares and that he was in it. But you're right, Joseph. Yeah, he needs to go back and like maybe rethink some of his choices when he gives an interview next time.
Yeah. So Kimberly on Patreon said, completely unrelated to this episode, I was in Dallas over the weekend helping my
mother-in-law.
Oh shit. All these fucking acronyms, Robert. Completely unrelated to this episode, I was in Dallas over the weekend helping move my mother-in-law into an assisted living facility. The driving was completely insane. I have never seen so many people run red lights in my life, and even on the East Coast. Seriously, I'm glad you both have survived thus far. Please use defensive driving practices so we can continue to listen to you for a long time to come.
Well, as it turns out, I drive like a really old woman.
So do I, really.
So, what? Yeah.
a little faster, yeah.
Yeah, I think you drive like a more reckless old woman.
I don't run red lights, and I use defensive driving.
Yeah.
I do. I always say two car lengths. I always use my fucking blinker. Thank you.
I know.
And so different parts of the country are different. Boston, everyone is just crazy up there, just moving really, really fast. No one gives a shit. But if you kind of get into the groove of the culture of where you are long enough, you start to drive like they do. And Texas, no one uses their turn signals. And in Dallas is basically Mad Max.
Yeah, for real. Right? I mean, like
people shirtless, like on top of Gatling guns. I mean, it's crazy.
Playing guitars that shoot fire.
But then, like up in Chicago, I was like, everyone was just driving like a bat out of hell. No one cares about speed limits, but they all use their turn signals.
Well, at least you know where they're going.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, Kimberly, like driving in Dallas County is different than driving in Tarrant County. Tarrant County is somewhat calmer, I think, because everybody is probably not as smart as people in Dallas County. I don't know. Either way, like driving in Dallas, driving in Texas is terrible. And if you haven't driven in Houston, don't.
Yeah.
On our deep dive episode for The Rage, Cassie 2.
It's Carrie.
At RL Terry 1 says, Cassie 2, LOL. I don't think I've ever seen this, though certainly aware of its existence, but I think I know all I need to know. Ha ha.
You should still watch it.
Yeah, you need to, just so saying you've seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yes, we talked at length about how we didn't care for the movie, but that doesn't mean that it's not an enjoyable, fun watch.
Yeah, and it'll be a story you can tell at parties.
That's right.
Alvin from Patreon said, favorite laugh out loud lines. Robert said, who has spear guns in their house? Chris said, where do the harpoons come from? Robert said, I mean, I'm going to buy some now just in case. Then he says, never saw The Rage. Cassie 2 is now on my list. The bottom of the list.
Nobody wants to watch this movie. I don't understand.
We covered it. You have to watch it too. God damn it.
I mean, I know the synopsis was pretty much the entire movie, right? But still, go watch it. And for all of you who want to know, you can buy a spear gun for like $60 on Amazon. Just FYI.
Yeah.
From our deep dive episode into the original Carrie, at RL Terry 1 says, great episode. De Palma's love for Hitchcock is felt so much in this film. Margaret White is a brilliant character of opposition, and SpaceX Carrie is unforgettable. And the topic of the remake, I don't hate it. The OG is better, but, Moore's Margaret White was good.
Yeah.
She was good in that movie.
Yeah.
I also don't hate the remake.
Yeah. I'm not really adding much to that conversation. No. I don't like the movie as a whole. I don't, like I said, like there's like the acting's great. Technically, it was made well. I mean, everything was, the individual parts were great, but it wasn't bigger than some of its parts. You know what I mean?
I don't think we talked about that at length during that episode. So go back and check that out.
But Charlotte from Patreon said, my small local theater put on a very small local theater production of Carrie the Musical. It was amazing. So much fun. The music was ridiculous, and we had an amazing time. Although, to be honest, I did have an undisclosed amount of LSD in my system. So maybe that was part of the magic. Either way, if any of you have the chance to see any rendition of Carrie the Musical, I think it's worth it, even if it's just for the experience of watching how a teeny tiny theater company will stage that prom scene.
It is my life's ambition to see a staged production of Carrie the Musical. I've only heard the soundtrack, and I want to see it so bad. I've seen some videos, but I want to watch it live. I really would love to see a big theater production, though. I mean, at this point, I think if they opened it on Broadway, people would go see it just because of how much it flopped the first time.
Oh.
Like, give it a second chance, everyone, please. But that's awesome, Charlotte.
Yeah.
From our Flamers flashback episode on the Deadpool movies, Deadpools 1 and 2, over on Patreon, at the Real GL Hal Jordan said, a few takeaways here. It's not Thanos, but Thanos. Not being a smartass, just trying to help. Also, neither Deadpool movie is in the MCU. Part 3 will be made by Disney, but we'll see how he's incorporated into it by then. Also, I will never forgive Ryan Reynolds for ruining Green Lantern.
What an incredibly expected comment from someone that's named themselves after a superhero in their handle.
That's right. I mean,
I love actually. No, like we always love comments from the real Hal Jordan, right?
Yes.
One of our most prolific commenters, and we're very appreciative. I do have to say, Thanos. I've recently just been saying Thanos, like anus, just to make people chortle. See, it worked.
Yeah, I don't. I think I went back and commented after this, and I was just like, thanks, Hermione. You know what I mean? Because I was just like, Leviosa. It made me laugh. Thank you,
and
Hal Jordan.
Insufferable know-it-all. Nikki from Patreon said, love these movies, and you inspired me to rewatch them ASAP. Very high joke, pun, reference density, which I love. Side note, I can't wait to hear what you thought of The Boys, Robert.
And I think that you replied to her comment. I did love season 1. I just haven't watched season 2 yet.
I think you even talked about it on previous Shooting the Flames. Maybe she missed it along the road somewhere, and it's so hazy for us. It's hard to go back.
I know. It all runs together.
Back where a Hot Takes episode, or I don't remember.
I think it was our last Hot Takes episode because I had just recently finished it.
Yeah, because recently, within the last 6 months or so, we kind of split apart our hot takes from our Shooting the Flames. Yeah. So it's one of those, but he liked it. He really liked it, and he's looking forward to the second season. He's dragging ass to see it, but we're all waiting for him.
My watch list is so incredibly long, and I add to it all the time. And so when I go pick a movie from my watch list or TV series, right, it's a fucking crapshoot sometimes.
Okay, well.
From our rebroadcast episode of our top 10 horror comedies, At Home Rig Sean said, just finished your top 10 horror comedies episode. While I also love Clue and can also recite it word for word, it's not even horror adjacent. Sad to see that y'all left out The Babysitter, though. Great episode anyway.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where we may not have seen it yet.
Yes.
Because this is a rebroadcast, and that's something that we love that we can do is like for newer listeners, we can actually bring back some of the older like top 10s and things like that if it has to do with the theme of that month, and new listeners get more of a chance that aren't as prone to go back into our backlog and search for things, so it's great that we're getting comments for some of these older episodes, and we will continue to rebroadcast here and there. Pretty rare, but we do.
Fits.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode came from our very first horror comedy month. So like our first quote unquote season, right? And we've seen The Babysitter since then, and both of them actually, and we both liked them quite a bit, And so yeah, don't worry if we ever were to revisit that particular category for a top 10 episode. I'm pretty sure that those movies would make it the list.
Yeah. From our deep dive into Copycat, the very first episode that we've ever done.
Blast from the past.
Yeah. Joseph from Facebook said, going back through your archives and listening to episode 1, I totally randomly watched Copycat a couple weeks back, only because it was on Prime Video. I had never seen it before. I have some of the same thoughts and questions about that particular movie. I heart Holly Hunter. She owns it next to Sigourney Weaver. I feel like Sigourney Weaver walks on set and she lives a character, but Holly wins the audience with her actions and her mannerisms.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of deep cuts into our catalog,
really
love it.
Yeah.
Fucking love it. Thank you so much for that comment. Yeah, we really love that movie, and that's why we chose it to be our number 1, because we kind of bonded over talking about it.
That's right. I think that we had a renaissance with Copycat when we were planning our podcast, and it was just the perfect movie for us to do first. And I'm so glad that people are still listening to that.
And not an obvious choice. Looking back, I'm like, how did that become our number 1 episode?
And other podcasts have covered it since then.
I mean, it's not our number 1 episode, but it was our first episode, I should say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not our number 1 crush. But
or our number 1 fan.
From our top 10 horror novels episode, Alvin says, hey, you two, just finished listening to this episode and enjoyed the window into Robert's horror fiction tastes. Maybe you know of this and have even already discussed it in the podcast, but just in case, anybody who loves horror fiction must try Pseudopod, and then tell all of your horror tribe about it. Simply, it is the best horror short story platform ever created. It's a weekly podcast with over a decade of content. You're bound to find things you love while paying nothing to give it a try.
Yeah, no, I've sung the praises of Pseudopod on this podcast before.
You have.
I have. Yeah. And I've recommended it to others. And like, I'll be on an airplane or like driving and I want to hear not a traditional podcast, but storytelling. And that's my go-to is Pseudopod. I've absolutely love it.
And I have, since you recommended it, listened to a few episodes here or there. Like if I eat a gummy or something like that and I'm sitting outside in the dark late at night, in the back porch, just chain smoking or whatever, yeah, I'll turn on Pseudopod. It scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, my only complaint about Pseudopod is like kind of their naming conventions, I think, because it's hard to go back and like find stories that you really loved if you don't have like a platform that you listen to or a consistent platform where you can like favorite things or save things, because it's all like numbered, right? And they have multiple stories per episode, so you have to really dig in to find the right ones, or like be good at Google Foo and try and find Pseudopod the episodes that you like. But there's so many good ones, and you can really just like randomly play and get a good story.
Yeah, but thanks for that recommendation, Evan.
Mm-hmm. From our Shooting the Flames in February, Land of Enchantment Lobo sent us an email. Thank you. And said, I have often revisited many classic Film Flamers episodes, The Ghost in the Darkness, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Night of the Comet, Jurassic Park, and the modern day classic, The Bodyguard, just to name a few.
I'm sorry. That almost made me spit my beer out. And I wrote it, the modern day classic.
By now, I've listened to about every single deep dive episode. They have never disappointed. But then there were the first 2 deep dive episodes, which, shall we say, lack the production prowess we've come to expect from the Film Flamers. In this episode, Chris talked a little bit about the change in production quality and suggested maybe doing a history of the podcast sometime, a deep dive into the Film Flamers, how it came to be, how you selected your now iconic bumper music. You got that right from the get-go. And marked improvement in production quality following the first 2 deep dives. New microphones, new audio interface. What the heck happened? I must say, I'm glad it got fixed because the episodes that follow keep their luster upon repeat listening. By the way, the production has sounded uniformly great ever since. Well, that is like laser targeted to me as like a huge compliment because I'm such a fucking nerd for the sound quality.
Yeah.
And it's still not perfect, really. I mean, we continue to struggle with like noise processing and stuff like that. Like my air conditioner is going on right now and it's a bitch to kind of cut all that stuff out. But that's something that we pride ourselves in, is to at least try and make it sound good. So thank you so much for noticing.
And it really is just like kudos to you too. I'm just now learning how to edit like 3 years into our podcast, right? And it's hard as shit. And I just don't have the same kind of ear for it that Chris does. So after those first 2 episodes, Chris was like, you know what? We're going to try something different. So we did get new microphones.
We sounded like we were in a jar, and I hated that. We got an expensive microphone. I think it was the Blue Yeti. Yeah. And we kind of put it in the middle of a table. And we actually had a fairly good room for it, for sound absorption. But like it just, like I said, it sounded like we were in a jar because it's recording from 2 different directions. And so you're getting echoes off the walls and things like that. So what I did was I actually got 2 cheaper microphones that together kind of was equivalent to the price of the Blue Yeti. Mm-hmm. And we got almost said boomsticks. We got microphone stands and things like that are easier and plosive shields and things like that. And so while they're a little bit cheaper, we actually have a mixer now as well. And so it just sounds so much better. I've often wanted to go back and create a new intro to Copycat and maybe Suspiria as well, and some of those others, and just be like, hey, we sound better than this now, but, welcome to the Film Flamers and hope you enjoy this, even though it's not the best of sound quality. So yeah, thank you for noticing, and let me know what you think of that idea.
Well, and also, I mean, like in a private conversation that a listener was having with us on Facebook, he also mentioned that he wanted to start a podcast at some point, and he was asking questions about like how he planned and got started, and I still think that our first 2 episodes sounded okay. You know what I mean? Like I listen to a lot of podcasts and I've heard a lot worse than that.
And if nothing else, they're appreciating the quality that we got to. Mm-hmm. And, if all we inspire in people is thinking they can start a podcast and do better than us, then, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah, please. I mean, I'll listen to it. Sure, why not?
The Film Flamers make me think of how much better I could do.
But we spent a lot of time planning our podcast, just so y'all know. I mean, we're coming up on our 3rd anniversary. And I mean, it took us months to get ready to even just record the first episode.
I snatched the insult out of the jaws of that compliment.
From our top 10 horror vacations episode, Alvin says, very good vacation horror movie show. The side-by-side pics of Frozen and The Ruins have something else in common besides list proximity. Both movies starred Shawn Ashmore, playing essentially the same guy, which I'm sure was driven more by the similarities of the characters, not because of the limitations in Mr. Ashmore's talent. Shawn Ashmore also acted in Adam Green's 2014 short titled Happy Halloween.
Yeah, and we want to watch more of those. I think you also mentioned like Hatchet in a different email, or maybe the same one.
Yeah, he sent us an email asking about how come we haven't covered an Adam Green movie? Yeah, and he mentioned like Hatchet and Frozen, right? And
and that's when I went back and I tried to find it for him because I knew we talked about it, because that's one that I actually really wanted to show you, and I did at some point back in probably 2018 or 19. And we ended up talking about it a little bit on that top 10. And so I went and found that episode, found the exact starting point for him. And obviously, hopefully it was convenient enough because he eventually became a patron.
That's right. Alvin is our latest patron. Yay. Thank you, Alvin, for joining our Patreon family.
Yes.
And, I also like the movie Hatchet. I think Chris would too. So maybe sometime we'll be covering some Adam Green. So you just stay tuned.
Yeah.
But we also have to thank our patrons who are at the Film Flamer tier or higher over on Patreon. And those are Ben,
Penelope,
Amber,
and Lisa, but especially Lisa.
But especially Lisa. And especially Bart. I just can't help myself.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Lisa's special, but no more special than Ben, Penelope, and Amber. That's right. A Simpsons. It's a deep cut Simpsons reference.
Deep cut.
Yeah. But especially Lisa.
But speaking of Penelope, we got some voicemails this month, and it's been a while, y'all. So here's the first one. Thanks, Penelope.
Hey, Film Flamers, it's your favorite Film Flamer fan. So I was just sitting here eating this big old bowl of macaroni, as one is wont to do. And I thought, well, it would be fabulous if the Film Flamers would create this playlist of, like, thrilling horror music to run to, you know, like, I was just sitting here thinking of, like, the music from The Wizard of Oz when, you know, Ms. Gulch is riding her bicycle and then she turns into the witch, and, you know, that classic, you know, music. Okay, that's not like classic horror, but, you know, like music they play as your hero, or, you know, final girl is like running away, or, you know, like that, like high paced, like, you know what I'm talking about. Do that. That would be great. I would listen to that.
So we're not a music podcast.
However, if you're asking us to create a playlist that you can exercise to, is that...
Yeah, and I actually used to dabble. I used to dabble in like acid music, and I actually made my own little like EDM album. So I figured like I could take things like like that Wizard of Oz, and or things like it follows.
It would be great.
And put them to a tempo for running, right? And so like you actually are running like you're in a horror movie, running from a serial killer or something. Like you know, that's exactly I think what she's asking for, right? So she wants a playlist that feels like she's running from a slasher.
She needs inspiration on the treadmill. Is that what it is? She's like, she's gonna make it out of the jaws of danger.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
I mean, I like making playlists, but I don't like exercising, so we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. We also got a voicemail from Nicole. Here it is.
Hi, my name's Nicole Loftus. I listen to your broadcast and I absolutely love it. Can you do this movie as a request for me? Can you do 1998 Urban Legend? I love that movie because of Michael Rosenbaum, because he was so cute. This is way before he did Smallville playing the villain Lex Luthor. So can you please do Urban Legend from 1998? Please let me know you get my message. This is Nicole Loftus from Florida. Thank you very much.
We have a couple Nicoles.
Yeah. We have a Nikki, we have a Nicole, and now a new Nicole. So.
Yeah, this is a new Nicole. And this is Nicole from Florida. So, yeah, thank you very much for that voicemail. And yes, of course, we're eventually going to do Urban Legend.
Okay, yeah, I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't do that movie.
I wished we'd done that instead of Disturbing Behavior. But Urban Legend is more of a deep dive territory for the main feed rather than Patreon, I think. So, yeah, I think we have a lot of things to say about that. I'd love to do, that and maybe a sequel.
Well, there's also a remake of Urban Legend.
Or maybe like you I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend is kind of like like a double dive month or something.
That's a perfect pairing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, stay tuned. Yes, eventually, Nicole, we will be doing Urban Legends.
I also love Michael Rosenbaum too. So
he is kind of hot.
Yeah.
I liked Smallville.
I liked it when he was in that one like comedy movie where he was in drag the whole time.
I don't think I've seen this.
It was good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, stay tuned. I mean, like, we have movies on the docket well into 2022, but Urban Legends is always on the tip of our tongue.
Yeah.
So we got an email from Land of Enchantment Lobo that asked a question. And he says in that email, once upon a time as a fourth grader, many years ago, a group of my friends and I were at the video store looking for a movie for a sleepover. As we were leaving, I walked past a giant poster for Evil Dead 2 and remarked, "You couldn't pay me to watch that," to which my friend replied, "That's the movie we just rented." Needless to say, it scared the piss out of me and became the first real horror movie I ever saw. From Robert's personal stories on the show, I can tell we grew up in the same era, as many of my childhood memories mirror his own. Which horror movies do you remember seeing first, and which movies personally scared you the most?
It wasn't Evil Dead 2. It was just a skull with eyes, wasn't it?
It was a skull with like human-looking eyes, but it did say Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it
wasn't like a super aspirational poster, right? It was just...
No, but it was horrifying. Like, I remember being a kid. And so one of my favorite things to do on Sundays when my parents got the newspaper was to look at the movie listings and just pretend like we were going to the movies that day. And there was like an ad for it. And I was like, what the motherfuck is this? You know, it looked frightening because it's like side eye out of that skull.
Yeah, I always thought it was funny. Like, I never was scared by it when I was...
It scared the shit out of me when I was little. I'm right there with you.
Okay.
I don't know. So the horror movies I remember seeing first, and not even maybe in its entirety, where I saw snippets of Dawn of the Dead playing in my parents' house when I was younger. I saw snippets of A Nightmare on Elm Street playing in my parents' house when I was younger. But I think the first ones that I ever watched, like in its entirety, would have been like Nightmare on Elm Street 2 or 3. And then I sort of branched out from there.
Okay. You know, we've talked about this a lot too, right? As far as like which ones kind of scared the bejesus out of us. Like for me, it was Critters and Student Bodies for the most part, you know, which are, you know, neither of which are supposed to be really scary. But, you know, when you're a kid and you don't understand that humor, like it's all very earnest. And because it was so simple and over the top, it translated more to a child's mind, I think. And it was actually more horrific because I could watch a horror movie and I would just be laughing at it or I wouldn't get it. Right. Versus back then, it was those types of things where I would take it so seriously. You know, I didn't understand that when, you know, someone's rubbing up against someone's boobs and Student Bodies and makes the balloon sound, that's not a realistic thing. You know what I mean? When you're 6 years old.
Well, and I didn't even think that, you know, Evil Dead 2 was scary. Funny, the first time that I saw it, like I was scared of that movie, you know? And so, yeah, I totally get it. Personally, the movie that scared me the most, just in general, is The Strangers. I'm still horrified of that movie the most. So
Terrified.
But thank you for that question. Oh, Terrified also is
Terrifying.
terrifying.
Horror news.
We got a couple of news items for you this month. And the first one, the Muppets are making Haunted Mansion, a special that's going to be premiering on Disney Plus on Halloween.
And is it a couple episodes or just one big one?
I don't know, really. I mean, like there was an announcement video, which I didn't watch. But I read the article and it looks good. I mean, the Muppets and horror, or at least the Muppets and scary things combined, is something that's right up my alley. So I'm ready for that shit.
In other news, Evil Dead 4 is on the way for HBO Max.
That's right. And I'm super looking forward to this as well.
I don't know, because like I feel like the last like restart, reboot, remake, whatever was produced by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, and you know it didn't feel like it didn't really go anywhere, right? And so I feel like, is this going to be another Bruce Campbell starred thing? I mean, Sam Raimi's not directing it again. He's doing other things for Marvel Universe with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or whatever. So I'm not really sure what this is going to be. Didn't they have that big show? It wasn't on HBO. It was like a Showtime or something.
It was a Showtime or Stars.
Ash versus Evil Dead. Stars. Yeah. And it was really good. I thought it was pretty good. So I don't know if it's going to be a continuation of that or just a new reboot or something else.
I keep seeing that it's going to be set in the city and not in a cabin.
Yeah, I'd like a continuation of Bruce's story, really, but
I don't know if we're going to get that or not. The director of this, though, directed The Hole in the Ground from a couple years ago, which was pretty good.
So it's going to be like super earnest and not funny?
I doubt it. I think it's going to be like a more, well, I mean, like it's an Evil Dead continuation of the story. It's got to be a little tongue in cheek or a little funny, right? Yeah. In a way that Fede Alvarez's remake wasn't a couple years ago, but I really liked that remake.
Well, they really nailed that tone for the Stars show. They nailed it, right? But for this, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I will still watch it regardless because I'd like to see like what happens.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're huge fans of the franchise, and so we want the best for it. But you know,
I even heard like rumblings of them taking that Fede Alvarez remake and the original story and sort of like combining them into the same universe, so that female protagonist and Bruce Campbell's character like being together. I mean, like even I would be fine with that. You know, I really want to see where it goes and what they do. And I think, I mean, as far as Sam Raimi's involved in some way, I think it would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe, or hopefully. So,
yeah.
And I'm glad they're taking the HBO Max route and not trying to plan like a theatrical release.
Coming soon.
We actually have a good handful of trailers to talk about this month. Well, I say actually, and it seems like the last couple months we've had quite a few.
Yeah, I feel like the dam is broken.
That's right. So 2021 is shaping up to be some sort of like miraculous comeback for movies, and everything that was pushed back, plus new projects. Everything's just coming out in the same year.
It's kind of Wild West though, right? Because some things are coming out only in theaters. Some things are coming out on like HBO Max or Amazon Prime or Netflix, and some are having like simultaneous releases. So it's going to be interesting how these things compete with one another.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think that, movie watching has been forever changed because of the pandemic, and we'll just have to see in the next couple of years how releases turn out. But at least we know upcoming, we have quite a few movies that look pretty promising.
Starting with the looking like amazingly shot The Green Knight.
Yeah, I mean, I can't.
And incredibly horror adjacent as well.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember a last time that I was this excited to see like a sort of fantasy type movie, right?
Yeah.
It's been a while for me.
Been a long time. should have left you.
Step 2. I don't know, it looks super well made, like you said. I mean, like pretty almost, right? And like people are getting their heads cut off.
It looks a little wonky too, though. So it's a little, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like really excellent kind of like cinema. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm a big fan of like high fantasy, especially when it gets dark and bloody and things like that. So
it's from A24 too.
Yes.
I really like their movies. So they're not afraid to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it looks good. I think this is something that I'd want to see in the theater.
The Vivitch and the Knight.
Mm-hmm. The Vivitch and the Green Knight. The Knigget. And I mean, like the cast looks good too. I mean, it just looks like a really pretty movie. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it.
Well, speaking of blowing loads, last night in Soho just released the best trailer of the year.
Really? I mean, so Chris sent me a message and he was just like, oh my God, this trailer just looks fantastic. Like an event movie, right?
Yeah. And I love trailers that hold things kind of still close to the chest. Like you don't understand really what's going on. It's a little provocative, but it's kind of like it's making you wonder what's going on. And it does exactly what a trailer is supposed to do. It is excellently put together. It has a lot of intrigue and it's kind of scary. I love the music choice in it. It's just a really, really well put together trailer. I'm really hoping that the movie does the trailer justice.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because right after you sent me that message, another friend of mine, Erica, was just like, this movie's for me, And I was just like, and my job blocks YouTube from my phone. So I can't pull up these trailers when you send them to me. And I was furious that I couldn't see it right then. But it really does look very good and well made. And this movie has been like teased forever. We had like a set still that was released years ago.
And cow eyes have never looked more Oscar worthy.
I mean, for real. I love cow eyes.
Anya Taylor-Joy. For those newcomers that don't know the inside joke on that outtake.
And it just looks like such a good movie. I had no idea. Nobody had an idea what this movie was even about.
No,
and then
I didn't expect anything from horror from that director, really.
I mean, I knew that was going to be sort of horror adjacent-y, but it wasn't until like the last moments of this trailer. And I'm like, yes. Like,
what's the director again?
Edgar Wright.
Yep.
Like Baby Driver,
yep.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it just looks so good. Another movie that I really want to see in the theater is this one. I mean, like, it just seems like a movie I want to see on the big screen for sure.
Yeah. Scraping the bottom of the barrel of the big releases is Jungle Cruise with The Rock and one of my favorites,
Emily Blunt.
Oh, love her. I love her vomit takes on the late night shows.
I have loved Emily Blunt since The Devil Wears Prada. I have just been in this woman's camp ever since she burst onto the screen.
I'm one flew away from my ideal weight.
She's just so good. And she has proven herself to be like an actress of many talents. She
goes across genres like a fucking Jungle Jam or something.
Yeah,
Speaking of which,
glass of water.
Jungle Cruise.
Jungle Cruise. Did we even say the name of the movie yet?
I think so. Yeah, I think we did.
So, yeah, another Disney property based on one of their rides from their amusement park, right?
Yeah.
So maybe this is like the cousin of the Pirates of the Caribbean or something. We have a new franchise being born.
Yeah, it looks like the Mummy crossed with the African Queen or something. Yeah. It really reminds me of like Rachel, like what's her name from the movie? Rachel Weisz and Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that a lot.
And I liked The Mummy when it first came out. So
I still like it.
I haven't seen it in a long time, so
good.
I can't say if I still like it or not.
Still good. It's a lot of fun.
And I don't know that I'd be going to see Jungle Cruise in the theater, right? And I don't know what this is going to look like on Disney Plus, So, I mean...
Well, knowing them, is it going to be theater only or are they going to release it simultaneously?
So the way Disney Plus does it is it's released simultaneously, but you have to pay them a fee to watch it on their platform. So like right now, Cruella opened in the theater.
But I'm already paying for them.
But you're already paying for Disney Plus, but you have to pay them an extra like $7 to watch Cruella.
Well, I guess technically you're paying for it.
Whatever. I'd pay that $7 to watch Cruella too. I mean, it's super high on my list.
Really?
So,
okay.
I mean, if I can watch the Jungle Cruise from the safety of my home and the comfort of my couch and a gummy in my mouth, then, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll pay that $7.
Yeah.
And my husband loves Dwayne Johnson. It's not his actual name. I just call him The Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. My husband he wants to see more adult oriented things so he can take his clothes off, I think.
Okay.
But going even further below the bottom of the barrel, there's a movie coming out called The Tomorrow War.
How very dare you, sir? This one stars Chris Pratt.
It's also at the bottom of the barrel, but hot. I mean,
It looks good. Like, it looks like, you know, dumb as fuck. You know, dumber than a box of rocks. But it actually, like, as the trailer goes on and you see essentially Chris Pratt is like, you know, a family guy or whatever. And then he's ex-military. And there's this big event where people come from the future, you know, in like the middle of a football game randomly and say, we're fighting a war and we're going to recruit all of you. And somehow they're okay with this and they all sign up for this future war and they'll get like attached with these like little arm wrist band things. And
kind of like Leela from
they get, transported to the future. But when they do, that's when like the trailer kind of turns and you see them all kind of falling out of the sky, like they were getting like randomly teleported, you know, into the future. And so they're like falling from skyscrapers. A lot of them are getting killed and like falling into pools and stuff. And then you get to see like some really epic scenes across land, ocean, air. Like the war is obviously really widespread and there's like hundreds or thousands of aliens crawling all over everything. And it looks really cool. So, you know, it's going to be a popcorn flick. It's going to be a really good summer popcorn flick. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, I might've been a little harsh in that intro. I mean, there were some really neat effects, you know, in the trailer and it looks like something that would definitely hold my interest. And God knows, I mean, I'll look at Chris Pratt without a shirt on, just like my husband would look at The Rock without a shirt on.
And there's some horror adjacency there.
Yeah. I mean,
in the trailer.
It just, I hadn't even heard of this movie until you showed me this trailer.
Me either. And like I said, it looks dumber than a box of rocks, but it's going to be a lot of fucking fun.
That's true.
Yeah. So next up is The Eternals, the latest MCU entry by famed director, just Oscar-winning director,
Chloe Zhao.
Yeah. She did Nomadland, which both Robert and I loved.
So good.
Yeah. And so I'm really looking forward to this. It's a stacked cast. Richard Madden and Jon Snow himself from Game of Thrones. And Angelina Jolie is in this.
Salma Hayek is
narrating the trailer.
Carla Gugino.
And they're keeping this one really, really vague in the trailer, which is good. I know the stories from the comics. And so there's a lot of potential here for cosmic horror, which I hope they double down on. But I don't know. We'll see. It looks well shot. I'll say that.
God,
but
yeah.
Outside of that, not sure. We'll see.
There's like a shit ton of Oscar buzz for this movie, right? I mean, because we've only had one Marvel movie nominated for Best Picture, right? I don't think we've ever had a Best Director from their universe yet. And I think if anybody can pull that off, it's Chloe Zhao.
Yeah, Marvel's studio, like I'm not super impressed with the trailer. It looks pretty, but and promising, I guess. But like one thing that tells me is like Kevin Feige, who's been running the show, you know, in the MCU from the beginning and has actual plans versus like DC with their whatever they can throw at the wall and stick idea. And essentially he said like they were shocked by what she kind of handed to them. Right. Wow. They were very, very pleased. You know, and I think during the pandemic, she did a early pandemic, she did a break or something and filmed Nomadland in the middle of doing The Eternals, you know? So it's just like,
I mean, she's just like knocking it out of the park, really. I mean, Nomadland was a really good movie. I'm super glad that it won Best Picture and that she won Best Director. This is only the second time in the history of the Academy Awards that a woman has won that award.
And the first Asian American woman. Yeah.
That's correct. And I mean, like, and can you imagine if a woman like Chloe Zhao came back the next year with a movie as popcorn friendly as anything in the Marvel universe and could win Best Picture and Best Director again, like 2 years in a row? It's just an amazing feat. It would forever land her in like
it will
the
never
annals of history.
Win Best Picture.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I could see an MCU being like nominated again for a bunch of awards. They always are.
Yeah.
Very rarely Best Picture or anything like that.
Just once.
But I can't see it winning ever. It's just too. It's just like fantasy, horror, sci-fi. They're all kind of ghettoized.
Yeah.
Especially by highfalutin critics and you know the community in general. But I have to say the MCU is getting just top tier directors to do their shit. You know, so
and acting talent.
Yes.
I mean, everybody wants to be a part of that universe.
Yeah.
So
in some way,
forever expanding because they're all over Disney Plus now too. You know, so I mean, I think we only have places to go up from here as far as the MCU goes. And I'm slowly coming out of my superhero fatigue because you've shown me like the good ones that I didn't watch along the way. And I'm like, I need to just stop being such a fucking bitch about it. You know what I mean? Because The Eternals looks good. I'm going to go see this movie.
Good.
Last on our list is something that looks incredibly fun and I cannot wait to watch. And that's a movie called Gunpowder Milkshake. I'll drink it right up.
Well, it has Karen Gillan, which I love. She actually plays Nebula in the MCU, blue-skinned Baldy. And she was also in one of my favorite horror films, Oculus.
That's right.
Of recent years. And I really love that actress. I think she was on Doctor Who as well.
I think so.
And I actually want her to be, she's my favorite to play Jean Grey if they ever do X-Men in the Marvel Studios universe.
Should be a good fit.
Versus Fox. And yeah, I really love her. But Lena Headey is her mother. Is far too young to be playing her mother. But also Angela Bassett's in this. And Michelle Yeoh. I love Michelle Yeoh. Sunshine Fame. And
Carla Gugino's in this one too, isn't she?
And who?
Carla Gugino?
Yeah, from Haunting Hill House. Yeah. And so many more. There's a lot of interesting faces. Paul Giamatti, I think, is in this. And so it looks a lot of fun, but it also kind of looks almost run of the mill action at this point. It's not quite highly stylized like the John Wick universe, like Nobody and Atomic Blonde and some of those, but it looks a little bit more straightforward, run of the mill action. But I'm hoping it's elevated enough because of its high premise. That is going to be really, really good. And it looks kind of crazy, so I like that.
Yeah, it does look crazy.
I love them all in the diner in slow motion killing everyone.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, it does look a little stylized to me. Maybe not near as high concept as some of those other movies that you mentioned, but I mean, it looks like a lot of fun. I like this cast.
Well, it's actually higher concept, I would say, right? It's higher concept because it's so specific to all these ladies.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Right, but it's just not as highly stylized.
It looks fun, though.
God, did I just do an actually? I'm sorry.
No.
Actually, I meant to say stylized.
Silence, elf. Either way, I'll be watching this movie. It's Netflix, right? Is that what this is?
I don't recall.
I can't recall either. I think so.
On a screen near you.
Maybe. On a screen of varying sizes. Quite possibly. But soon. So we have a link to all of these news items and all of these trailers in our show notes. So if you haven't seen them, go over there, click on those notes, and give them a watch. Well, everybody, I think that just about wraps up June's Shooting the Flames. We'd like to thank everybody for their comments, questions, and reviews. If you have a comment about some of our episodes, past or present, you can find us on social media at The Film Flamers on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram.
You can email us at tiredqueens@filmflamers.com, or better yet, call us at 972-666-7733 and let your voice be heard.
Just like Penelope and Nicole did. And, our inbox was pretty much blown up, too, by Land of Enchantment Lobo and Alvin, which we also enjoy. You've sort of dusted the webs off our email inbox. We appreciate that. We have a lot more content coming out for you in June, Pride Month. Stay tuned, because we're going to be talking Lesbians in the Woods when we discuss the movie What Keeps You Alive.
We're also going to be covering one of my favorite 90s gems, Wild Things.
Oh my God, it's deliciously trashy, and I cannot wait to talk about it. And we could have even more episodes coming out for you guys. But don't forget about our bonus content over on patreon.com/thefilmflamers. We're going to be talking about a pretty rare, maybe underseen gay classic film.
Yes, Saint Sebastian. So if you can grab a copy somewhere, I don't know where you do it. Amazon is where I got mine, but they're pretty rare. I think there was like 2 left when I bought mine.
Just got it there under the radar for that one.
Yeah,
but we're going to be talking about that over there on Patreon, so go check us out.
Well, Robert, I'm ready to go jump in the pool and test out my gunpowder milkshake.
That's right. I am thirsty for that gunpowder milkshake. And hopefully, maybe we could have our last night in Soho. I don't even know what that fucking means, but... Until next time.
Sweet dreams.